Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I'm taking a look at the latest Dalek collector set, which is the History of the Daleks set number 12 from Destiny of the Daleks, featuring 2 grey drones from that story. These are some really great, really tatty looking Daleks, which I'll talk about a bit more in a moment. But first, let's take a quick look at the packaging. So the Daleks come packaged in the now updated window boxes, featuring the lack of a plastic window and the bubble on card effect. But otherwise, it features the usual style guide, the grey TARDIS, the gold foil limited edition sticker, and then on the back we have a little synopsis about Destiny of the Daleks and a little bit of history on the props. So out of the box, let's have a look at our 2 new Daleks. So the Destiny Daleks have had a few releases over the years, and there's quite a variety of Dalek in that story, whether it be some have ovals, some have bits that are painted black, some aren't painted black, some have different dome lights, and there's a lot of that going on here with these Daleks, and these 2 are slightly different from each other. The first obvious thing is that one has the black oval in the middle, the other one doesn't. So let's start with the one with the black oval to begin with, as he's the one that's got a few new pieces. Namely, he's got these new dome lights. Now, these are the same dome lights that we used on the Genesis of the Dalek set, but this time round, we've got the black rim on the outside. I think this is the first time that these properly appear in a Dalek story. So this looks great. It just sets it apart ever so slightly from the Daleks we've had before. It's not a massive change, but it's just a little difference, and, you know, it works really well. Also, we've got a new eye stalk sculpt. So we have less rings. We've got the 4 rings on the eye stalk. One is missing at the back. Usually it's 5. And then the eye itself is slightly different. Rather than the usual round shape that we had with the Genesis Daleks, this one flattens off at the front, and it's got like a little lip. It indents. The eye is completely printed on. Whereas the other Daleks, the iris is a recess and part of the sculpt. This time round, these are just painted directly onto the eye stalk. So these are the sort of cheaper eye stalks that I guess started to come into effect with these Daleks. Because you watch Destiny of the Daleks, these props are really, really tatty. And they've done a nice job of trying to recreate that look. Moving down to the neck bin, this is really great with the mesh and the grey. There's no paint bleed or anything. It's really neat and tidy. Going further down to the shoulder section, we've got the mesh and the slats. The slats are black, and then in between the mesh is grey, but they've also added black in between the mesh itself to make it look like there's holes in the mesh, I guess. It adds a little bit of extra depth to the sculpt, which looks really nice. And then moving down to the plunger and gun arm. Plunger's just completely in black. The plunger itself is matte, whereas the arm attachment is more of glossy black, and then the ball joint is grey, much like the rest of the Dalek's body. And then on the other side, we have a black Dalek gun stick, but this is attached to a bronze ball joint. So kind of harkening back to the Genesis Dalek. And then the lower band of the shoulder section is also finished off in a glossy black. And then the same for the hemispheres. These are all black, but if you look closely, you can see there's a silver effect brushed over all of the hemispheres. Now this is to give it a battle-damaged look, and just trying to really recreate the tattiness of those props. Not all of them have it, some do, some don't, and I imagine that this will vary from set to set, but this is a really cool idea, just to add a little bit of something extra, just to make them look a bit tatty. And then again, much like with a lot of the History of the Dalek sets, if you look down towards the fender, we've got the 2-step fender. This is a glossy black, but again, it's got that silver tarnished effect over the top, which just makes it look like it's been bashing into things and it's been taking a bit of a hammering during the Mavellan War. Moving over to the other Dalek, this one, again, very similar, but slightly different. We've got the same eye stalk, again, with the printed on iris. What I will say, actually, for both of my irises, they're not dead straight, they're a bit wonky, but it's not too bad. I mean, I guess it reflects the tattiness of the Daleks themselves. Then we've got the Mini Cooper dome lights that we've seen on previous Daleks. Again, all the paint applications here are really well done. They're all nice and crisp. There's not really any bleed anywhere. If there was, kind of doesn't matter on this set because these Daleks are tatty as hell, but honestly, these are really neat and tidy. The shoulder section is basically the same, except this one has the grey lower band. It's not finished off in black. Like I pointed out earlier, there's no oval. And also for this one, the gun stick ends with a grey ball joint. Again, the same colour as the rest of the Dalek's body, so that matches very nicely. Moving down to the hemispheres, again, glossy black, the same silver tarnished effect. But then when we get right down to the bottom of the skirt, Then we have a silver top piece, which isn't completely silver. There's still a little bit of black there. I don't know what the significance of that is. I imagine some Dalek expert in the comments will explain to me why that is. But it looks good nevertheless. It still works really well, that silver on the top. And then you've got the lower black piece, and again, you've got that silver tarnished effect. So overall, these look great. I love the Destiny of the Daleks colours, that brighter grey compared to the darker grey. They work really well. I don't think they look quite so good on screen because they're a bit tatty, but as toys, I think they look great. And especially when you put them with the other versions of the Destiny Daleks, you can see also just how the grey is slightly different from the earlier set, that Destiny of the Daleks set that came out with Davros, and of course the version of the Suicide Dalek that came out in the Adventures of the Fourth Doctor set way back in 2009, I think it was. They just look great. I mean, I always liked the grey that was used on the original versions, and I think this grey is also really good. So honestly, either grey is great, but I imagine that this one is just ever so slightly closer to what we see on screen. But honestly, this is a really, really lovely set of Daleks. And then in terms of articulation, these are just like your standard Daleks. They have rotatable domes, which go 360 degrees around. You've got pivoting eye stalks that go up and down. You've got ball-jointed gun stick and a ball-jointed plunger that fully rotate like so. And then you have the two back wheels and the rotating front wheel, which allow for a complete range of Dalek movement. Destiny of the Daleks isn't one of my favourite Dalek stories by any means, and I think that's the same for a lot of people, but I think the toys work really, really well, and we've ended up with a really nice set, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we get as we head into the 80s with the Resurrection and Revelation of the Dalek sets, which I'm sure we'll be seeing next year. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed these reviews, and I shall see you all soon for another Doctor Who action figure review. Bye-bye!